is above depression. His name is above loneliness. Oh, his name is above disease. His name is above cancer. His name is above every other name. That is who you are. That is who you are. Jesus. And that is who you are. Oh, I know that is who you are.
When darkness tries to roll over my bones, when sorrow comes to steal the joy I own, when brokenness and pain is all I know, I won't be shaken, I won't be shaken. My fear, it doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear, it doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear, it doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. Shame no longer has a place to hide. I am not a captive to the lies. I'm not afraid to leave my past behind. I won't be shaken. No, I won't be shaken. My fear, it doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear, it doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear, it doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. There's power that can break off every chain. There's power that can empty out a grave. There's resurrection power that can save. There's power in your name. Power in your name. There's resurrection power that can change. There's power that can empty out a grave. There's resurrection power that can save. There's power in your name. Power in your name. My fear, it doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear, it doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear, it doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear, it doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear, it doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love. My fear, it doesn't stand a chance when I stand in your love.
please stand for our words of invitation. We accept the invitation to worship in communion with the God who creates, redeems, and sustains through us as brothers and sisters. We are called beloved and gather together to hold each other accountable in a covenant of love. May our songs, words, and fellowship bring us closer to God and to one another.
Good morning. Please join us in worship this morning as we sing Jesus Shall Reign. Jesus shall reign where'er the sun does its successive journeys run. His kingdom stretched from shore to shore till moon shall wax and wane no more. Please join me in prayer. God, we come to you today and we are bringing all of who we are to you, all of our hurts, all of our desires, all of our needs. But before we bring them to you, we have to recognize that you see them. You see them before we even experience them. And as we bring ourselves to you today, we ask that you just work through us to heal us, to work in us, to show your love to the people around us. And as we walk down the streets and walk into stores and businesses, we may shed your light and spread your love to everyone around us. We ask that you open our hearts today and enter this place and fill us with your love. Amen. Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken, and I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken.
Please be seated. I will put my trust in your love. It is my firm foundation for my life. Certainly something we could repeat over and over just to remind ourselves at any part of our day to do exactly that. So we have a psalm litany this morning that is a Japanese rendition of Psalm 23, and it has been very meaningful to many people, so I put it in the program today to lead us into our time of sharing. And I'll invite you to read the bold print that says many, and I will read the part that says one. The Lord is my pace setter, I shall not rush. My guardian makes me stop and rest for quiet intervals. Even though I have a great many things to accomplish each day, I will not fret, for God's presence is here. Divine timelessness and all importance will keep me in balance. Surely harmony and effectiveness shall be the fruits of my hours, for I shall walk in the pace of my Lord and dwell in the house of God forever. Now we want to give you the opportunity to share. I want to begin just by welcoming our visitors, Ruth and Bernie. And I can't see your full faces, but I believe I've met you before at some Transition Town events. But anyway, it's great to have you today. Glad to have you. We look forward to speaking to you afterwards, and welcome. So what other sharing do we have? I know it's Michael's birthday, Michael Lull. Happy birthday, Michael. And Miss Bonnie had a birthday last week with the pink hair. Yay. So, anybody wants to, please, Robin.
Zach has not heard about the job that we were praying for, but he heard from his former job that he lost due to COVID, and there's a possibility that he wants to come back.
Oh my gosh, talk about twists and turns in each of our books with God. So Zach hasn't heard from the job that he was hoping to get, but he heard from another job that he was let go from due to COVID, and we're not sure, but we're going to keep our eyes open, listen up to hear what happens with Zach and his job. There we go. Oh my goodness, talk about prayer twists. Yes, Harry. Yes. Folks in Florida whose apartment building collapsed. Prayers for them, their families, the community. Thank you. Let's check here and see if we have any prayers from our online worshipers. I do not see any prayers from them. Okay. Alrighty, we shall move into our serenity prayer, which we can speak together. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking as Jesus did, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be back and see all the smiling faces out there. Today, the first story I'll be reading is from the second book of Samuel in the first chapter. Then David chanted this lament over Saul and his son Jonathan. He gave instructions that the people of Judah should be taught the bow. Indeed, it is written down in the scroll of the upright one. The beauty of Israel lies slain in your high places. How the mighty have fallen. Don't report it in Gath. Don't spread the news in the streets of Ashkelon, or the daughters of the Philistines will rejoice. The daughters of the uncircumcised will celebrate. O mountains of Gilboa, may there be no dew or rain in you, nor fields of grain offerings. For it was there that the shield of warriors was defiled. The shield of Saul lies neglected without oil. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the warriors, the bow of Jonathan was not turned away. The sword of Saul never returned empty. Saul and Jonathan were greatly loved during their lives, and not even in their deaths were they separated. They were swifter than eagles, stronger than lions. O daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you in scarlet as well as jewelry, who put gold jewelry on your clothes. How the warriors have fallen in the midst of battle. Jonathan lies slain in your high places. I grieve over you, my brother Jonathan. You were very dear to me. Your love was more special to me than the love of women. How the warriors have fallen. The weapons of war are destroyed.
Please join us in responding to the first reading today by singing Here I Am, Lord. You can stay seated if you'd like. I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people's cry, all who dwell in dark and sin, my hand will save. I who made the stars of night, I will make their darkness bright. Who will bear my light to them? Who shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart.
So this summer, I've decided to do Bible Bites, which we did a few summers ago. And what in the world are Bible Bites? Bible Bites are where we take two passages that are in the lectionary, and instead of one sermon about both or something, we do two sermons that are shorter, and it gives me a chance to really dig into the text a little bit. And so we dig into the text for a couple minutes, and then we have a couple of takeaways. So it's kind of like a pocket sermon sort of thing. And so that's what we're going to do today. And I don't know how many of you got lost in the sauce with the 2 Samuel reading, but it's really hard to understand what that's all about, right? You're probably looking at it and saying, what does this mean, and what is that all about? And just as we get ready to go into that, I have to say that my oldest son, Raymel, is a musical engineer, and he does work with lyrics, he does beats, and he does rap music. And since I haven't loved rap music, I have to say, and I'm even saying it on public YouTube, oh God. But I just haven't been a fan of rap music. And so my son doing that, it was like kind of like swallowing like a rock or something to get with that. And so this one day, we went up into the attic, which is where his studio is, and we sat down, and he took one of his favorite songs, and he broke the song down for me and explained to me what every single word and phrase meant. And when he finished explaining it to me, it was like he had just let me walk around in his heart. He had expressed his deepest emotions about what was going on in his life, what hurt him, what made him angry, what brought him joy. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is in that? Because of the way it was packaged, I was having trouble with it. And so he unlocked that for me. And so I told him this morning, I was comparing biblical poetry to rap, and he was kind of like, wow, Mom, how is that going to work out for you? Let me know. But I think the key here is unlocking this poem for you, because it has so much in it. And so I just want to say the first thing about this is to know that it is a poem written by David, and he's writing it because he is just so sad, and his heart is broken because the two people who were the most important to him in his life just died at the same time, and he just found out, and he is heartbroken. And the two people for King David were Saul and Jonathan. And we know that he had a very turbulent relationship with Saul. I mean, first Saul was his mentor, and he was playing the harp for him, and then Saul was hating him and trying to kill him, and then Jonathan is Saul's son, and so Jonathan's protecting him, and so it was a very complex relationship. And so I just want to start off by saying this is a poem. And what David, the king, says is, not only am I going to say that this is a poem, but I want everybody in Israel to read this and to sing it. So because he's king, he gets to make everybody sing this thing as well. And it's called The Lament of the Bow is the name of it. And so just walking us through the passage a little bit, the first thing it says is, a gazelle lies slain on your heights. And the term gazelle, because they were in a rural setting, using different animal images was a way to compliment people, was a way to say something impressive. So a gazelle was an animal of nobility. And so what David's saying is, people of nobility, people who are important, have just died on the mountaintop. And he says, the mighty have fallen. And then he goes on and he says, tell it not in Gath, and don't tell it in the streets of Ashkelon. Don't let the daughters of Philistine be glad. What he's saying is, Gath and Ashkelon and the daughters of Philistine, they're our enemies. They're the ones that killed my people. They killed Saul. They killed Jonathan. Don't let them know that my heart is broken. Don't let them know. Don't let our enemies know how mad we are, how hurt we are, that they just killed two of our very, very important men. And then he goes on to say, mountains of Gilboa, may you never have any dew or rain. Well, we know that if we don't have dew or rain, all the animals die, all the trees die, all the crops die, the people die. And so what he's saying is, I want, this is the place where they died, Gilboa. Let all of the trees and the livestock and the people know the death that we feel, to the point that everybody feels it, not just people, but all aspects of creation. And he says, don't let any dew, rain, or rain fall. Don't let any blessings fall upon that mountain, because these two important men have died. And then he goes on to say, the shield of the mighty was despised. Well, a shield is meant to protect someone. So if that shield didn't protect you, it's not a loyal shield. It's a despised shield. They despised this shield because it didn't protect Jonathan from death. And then it says, the shield of Saul no longer will be rubbed with oil. Well, you rub it with oil if you're going to take it to war, but if you died, you're never going to rub that same shield again with oil. So this is a lament. He's sad. He's hurt. And then he goes on to say, the bow of Jonathan didn't turn back. Someone shot a bow at him. He wishes the bow had turned back and hadn't gone into Jonathan to kill him. The sword of Saul did not return unsatisfied. Saul, as you recall, took his own life. He knew the enemy was coming. He chose to take a sword and fall on it. So again, the sword is what killed Saul. He's still dead, no matter how he died, but this is just a point that I'm sharing with you. He was not killed by the enemy. He took his own life. And then he goes on to say Saul and Jonathan were loved and admired. In death, they were not parted. And then he goes on again using animal images. They were swifter than eagles. That's pretty swift. They were stronger than lions, using animal images to describe these men that he admires so much, even though one of them was trying to kill him. And then he goes on to talk about the daughters of Israel will miss Saul. Why? Because Saul was the one who took care of all of them, provided food, provided clothing, and then he says he's going to miss Jonathan. And we all know that the relationship with Jonathan that he had was extremely close. Some people believe it was a love relationship. Some people believe that in war, people become even closer than they are to their own families. There is no question that David had very conflicted relationships with the women in his life. But Jonathan was the closest one to him, and this is heartbreaking to him to have Jonathan die. So I just want to unlock that a little bit for you. I hope that's helpful in looking at the poem. It's King David's most intimate expression of this love-hate relationship he had with Saul and deep love for Jonathan, and how heartbreaking it is to have someone die. And I guess what I just wanted to say to you as we think about takeaways is just the importance of finding out how people express themselves through their feelings. For some people it is music. For other people it's art. For some people it's decorating. Other people it's through the garden, or there are all sorts of ways that people express their emotions. And if we can just take the time with one another to notice each other and what is that person's way of expressing themselves, and just be present with them in that, it can help someone to express joy, it can help them to express anger or sadness or grief, but it just unlocks the relationship as well and allows us better understanding and care for one another. So that is Bible Bite number 1 for today.
The second story this morning is from Mark's Gospel, the 5th chapter, starting with the 24th verse. A large crowd followed and pressed around him, and a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately, her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once, Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" "You see the people crowding against you," his disciple answered, "and yet you can ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, and trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." The word of the Lord.
I, the Lord of snow and rain, I have borne my people's pain. I have wept for love for them. They turn away. I will break their heart of stone, give them hearts for love alone. I will speak my words to them, whom
So for our second Bible bite, I'd like to do something called Electio Divina, which was where I read the text a number of times and I give you a chance to say something about the passage that stands out to you. Does everybody have a printed copy? Okay, so everyone has a printed copy. That means that you can all participate. And so we're looking at Mark 5, 24 to 34. And I just would ask you, you heard Jim read it, and now I invite you to look at it. Look at the text, look at the reading, and as you look at it, is there one word that stands out to you, one word or one phrase that stands out to you about this passage? And then you could just say what that is. We're just going to marinate in what you hear. Anybody a word, Sue? Being treated by doctors and getting no answer. Frustration. Sue. Daughter, your faith has healed you. And just, yeah, so we're just hearing that, receiving it. Now, Pete, what? Go in peace. Go in peace. Go in peace. Okay. Mike. What was that? Who touched me? Who touched me? Who touched me? Sabangale? Who touched my clothes? Who touched my clothes? Who touched my clothes? Barb? Your faith has healed you. Your faith has healed you. Your faith has healed you. Okay. I'm going to read the text again, and I'm going to ask us to listen and see if we notice anything, all that she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately, her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once, Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" "You see the people crowding against you," the disciples answered, "and yet you can ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what happened to her, came and fell at his feet and, trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." Anybody else here? Bonnie. She had faith that she would be healed. Okay. I saw somebody else's hand, I thought. Anybody else? Mike. The power had gone out from him. You hear that in the Reiki field. Yeah. People after giving a Reiki treatment sometimes feel weak. Yes. After therapy dogs do therapy, they get worn out. It's kind of building on the idea of the energy had gone out of him. Anybody else? Bill. she had, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Some things don't change. Barb. Whoa, she told him the whole truth. She told him the whole truth. Okay, so a few things. Not that I wanted you to write the whole sermon today, but you did it anyway. One of the first things I noticed is the importance of active listening. And I certainly learned a lot from you this morning through active listening, things that I didn't hear in the passage. I read it over and over and over, and you still lifted things that I didn't even notice. And in hearing, and the Lectio Divina is the idea actually of reading a text multiple times and looking for something different each time and hearing things. It's all there the whole time, but maybe somebody says it in a different way, and then we hear it when we didn't hear it before. So the importance of actively listening, and when I say active listening, I also mean that many of us, we all use conventional medicine, or we wouldn't all pay for health insurance, right? But how do we listen to hear other ways that healing could come to us, whether it's another person saying something, a book, an article, somebody random on a train, or in the store we overhear talking. But there are sometimes things that we hear, and if we research them and we look into them, they can be a little road that we could take to find healing in a way that we might not have felt it before. Another thing is the importance about energy, as Mike just mentioned. So I practice, the place where I practice yoga downtown, they have something called work study. And that means if I clean the bathrooms down there, I get free yoga. I am totally down for that. So they called it work study, but then on Friday, somebody told me they changed the name to energy exchange. And I was like, way cool. Oh my gosh, they call it energy exchange, which means as long as I give enough of my time, my energy to them, then they will give me the free yoga. They'll give me their energy, just like Mike was saying. So the importance of us knowing when we're expending energy. Do we ever waste our time on toxic situations? And sometimes we're stuck in them. Sometimes we live in them. Sometimes we're married to them. Sometimes they're our relatives. You can't always change it. But can we find ways to feed ourselves and bring ourselves joy even when we're in toxic situations? How do we spend our energy? Do we ever perseverate on something that just isn't going to change, and then it's just whatever it's going to be? Or do we get stuck in something that just keeps on? Or do we sap other people's energy just by the way we are? And do we take the time to give, take the time to listen? So I think Jesus was a master at managing his energy. He didn't mind healing this lady. He just needed to know for himself how he was expending his skill, how he was giving of his time, because he's smart enough to know that the closer we get to God, the more we need to be aware of regenerating our divine potential. He went off to pray. Why did he do that? For fun? No, he went off to pray because he needed to fill himself back up. He went around and turned some water into wine. He went to a wedding. He made breakfast for his disciples on the beach. Why did he do those things? Because it brought him joy. And so he needed to refill himself instead of expending until he was empty. So the other part of how do we use our energy? He was happy to heal this lady. He just needed to know how he was using his energy and using his skill. So those are my takeaways for us out of this passage. And I hope that we'll practice Lectio Divina on our own and experience the scripture in a whole variety of ways. Okay, so now we into our announcements for the day. And we know that we had the hymn sing with Brenda on Friday night and are so grateful to Brenda. We hope to have another hymn sing again, but it was wonderful to have our first family and friends night with Brenda on Zoom. Today we are going canoeing and kayaking at 2 o'clock at Fitzwater Station, so anybody who would like to go but hasn't already told me that you want to go, please let me know after church. And also, if you want to go to like the meal afterwards at 4, like maybe you're not down for the canoeing thing, and you don't want to do kayaking because you're not sure about all that, and you just got your hair done or whatever. But the point is that if you want to come for the dinner part, that's at 4 p.m. So you could also let us know as well that we would look to meet you there. Let's see, other announcements. Walking groups still continue. Bill is the contact person for our Wednesday night 7 p.m. walking, Wednesday night wanderers, and the Thursday morning group at 7:30, that would be Kathy Buchanan is our contact person. Do we have any other? Oh, I wanted to mention, Bruce, that you just had your 50th, today is your 50th anniversary as a member, right? But yesterday was your 50th anniversary being of marriage to Linda, and I wanted to congratulate you. Yeah. Yeah. So, any other announcements? Ms. Abangale.
I just want us to continue to thank Kayla. As we all know, Kayla graduated and she'll be leaving us going to college. I think it's so important that we honor young people, what they're doing for their family, for themselves, and for the church. I think it's really great that we always have them here with us.
Yes. Congratulations for graduating, Kayla, and getting ready to move on to college. So, very proud of you. Other announcements at this time? Okay. I believe we are ready to have our giving of gifts, which is not in the program, but is happening, because we wouldn't be Methodists if we didn't have a collection.
Please join in our final song, Forever. Give thanks to the Lord, our God and King. His love and endures forever. For he is good, he is above all things. His love endures forever. Sing praise, sing praise. With a mighty hand and outstretched arm, his love endures forever. For the life that's been reborn, his love endures forever. Sing praise, sing praise, sing praise, sing praise. Forever God is faithful, forever God is strong, forever God is with us, forever, forever, forever. From the rising sun to the setting sun, his love endures forever. And by the grace of God we will carry on. His love endures forever. Sing praise, sing praise, sing praise, sing praise. Forever God is faithful, forever God is strong, forever God is with us, forever, forever, forever God is faithful, forever God is strong, forever God is with us, forever, forever, forever.